I don't think I have the patience to sit still and meditate at this point in time. But running is certainly super meditative for me.
100. Yeah. I find that, because I used to try to do the sit in dark or whatever, and it's like, this is impossible. Like, I can't clear my head. And I did an ultra marathon and was being. It was the first time as an adult that I could really remember just like letting go to an experience and being in the moment and taking it all in. And so now, I'm the same thing where I now realize that I can do that. Like, meditation doesn't have, it's anything that you're doing with a mindful practice is meditative. But I also feel like practicing that sitting just quietly in a guided meditation helps me
achieve that state when you're running.
Yeah. Like, get there quicker.
Did you encounter that your first ultra marathon?
It was like the fourth one. It was the first one that I really legitimately trained for. One of those things where your mind gets so tired that you just kind of let go to it, and then same thing. Like, or when I did Boston this year, I did the Oklahoma City Marathon this year. It was almost like my legs were just going. Like, it's like I don't even know if I could stop right now if I want to, because it just felt like I was a machine. Like, I was in my body and experiencing all of it, but like, I'm not stopping until I get to the finish line. Yeah. And they were like, something else was controlling them. So, pretty cool.
So you said that your fourth ultra was the first one that you like seriously trained for? How long was like that period of training?
I mean, specifically, it was probably my whole life. But, for that one, it was probably about a year process of doing things not necessarily the wrong way, but I was experimenting and trying a different type of training. And then when I separated from that and knew that, like, I needed to get back to like the traditional training that I did in high school or in college, and then signed up for the same 3 races that I signed up for and didn't feel like I did that well. And I was like, I'm going to do the exact same 3 races, but I'm going to train the way that I want to know how to do it and see what the difference is. So it was kind of like almost like 9 months to a year, and then probably really like 4 really solid specific months of getting ready for that endeavor. But I've been doing it like
your whole life.
My whole life. Yeah.
Would you say that part of the difference of the training was intent? Not that you didn't have the goal of running your first ultra or your second or your third, but doing it and doing it better this time.
Yeah, I mean, there was probably a little bit of spite in there, So, and I wasn't as woo woo at that point, so that I, at that point, wasn't like being mindful or putting intent into my training. It was just like, I'm doing this because I'm going to show you, motherfucker, kind of mindset or mentality. So, but now, like, when I go out, there's definitely an intent and an intention with everything that I do. Sometimes I have to stop and remind myself those things, but I think that having that 20 minutes in the morning makes every other aspect of the training or doing those other things, it makes it better, or to be able to get into those moments quicker, or to catch myself when I'm on the hamster wheel and being miserable, or like, oh, you went out too hard or you went out too fast. It's like, take a couple breaths, like, gather yourself and just move. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
We got to get him to 14,000 feet.
We got him. He's down. I know it.
So what would be awesome would be I brought a disposable camera with me. I was hoping that we could take a photo when we're done. If we can then take another one at 1,400, that would be incredible.
Yeah.
14,000.
14,000. Which is, it's like one more zero, dude.
Yeah. It means a lot when you're actually doing it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll get you out there. We'll make that happen, like, next week.
You let me know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Jimmy will tell you I'm certainly the kind of person that...
You're always in motion.
Yeah.
And talking about, just being and having time to enjoy your life and enjoy the fruits of life. Have you noticed when you're making music that you're best when you are out enjoying yourself, or are you best when you have that just singular focus on this needs to get done, everything else just kind of tunnel vision and just focusing on that? Or does the best art come out of you when you're out actually enjoying yourself, living life, and then you can kind of come back in and express that?
The honest answer is I don't know, because this is the first time that I've ever really focused on that. Is that fair?
Yeah.
The last few years of my life have been, I know this is what I want to do, and I know that I have to put the time into it to get better at it. If I'm going to have any chance, I need to be the best that I can be. And just like you said that you've been training for ultra marathons your entire life, right? It's the same thing with talking about, like, having the conversation about building muscle. You don't do it in a week, Training is like a lifelong thing. So I guess in my own way, I've been training for music, or training to be a producer or an engineer, Everything else that was going on was just whatever was going on when I was running in the wheel. Let me get back to you with a good answer on that in a year.
All right.
How did you get into it?
Great question. I always knew I wanted to make music. I remember sitting on a school bus in high school and like staring out the window at like 6:30 a.m. Man, wouldn't it be so fucking cool if I could like make my own beats? Wouldn't that be? I wonder what that would sound like. I never did it. I've fucked around with Fruity Loops for a minute. When I was in college,
is that a program?
Yeah, FL Studio. It was Fruity Loops back in the day. In college, I was introduced to this kid that ended up being, I guess, like almost a spiritual guide. He certainly took on a mentorship role for a short but very important period of time. His name was, he goes by Vic Alam, my homie Sharuk. And he was the first person that I ever met that was like, dude, anything you want, you can have. Anything you want to be, you can be. Anything you want to do, you can do. All you have to do is do it. And Vic taught me about the law of attraction. Had a conversation with my mom. I would spend time with Vic after class. We'd, bounce after class and go get food and talk and listen to house music. Vic's a DJ, would bring me to all the clubs, got me my first few gigs spinning back when I DJ'd before I produced. I knew I was onto something when I would hang out with him, and then for 2 or 3 days after, I would feel better. I would feel happier or just brighter and, what's the term? More hopeful. And so I had a conversation with my mom about this law of attraction thing. And she's like, oh, yeah, The Secret. And, like, pulls the book off her bedside table and hands it to me and goes, yeah, you can read that. What? Oh, okay. Positive mental attitude, positive mental energy. Sorry. I'll end up sampling that if you don't want to cut it out. And I was, like so many other kids, like a depressed, anxious kid. And I made a conscious effort to push myself out of my boundaries because I knew I wanted to do it, and all I had to do was do it. And all of these like great things started popping out. One of which was me just telling myself that all I need to do to make music is to make it. And I was scrolling back through Instagram recently, and one of my best friends in the entire world has a photo of me in college in like the side study room, maybe 15 minutes in between classes, and I've got my headphones on and my laptop's open. And I made a beat every day. Just a beat, nothing crazy. It's like I wasn't running 10 miles every day. I was running a mile every day. But I made a beat every day for 100 days. And I was like, okay, I've laid the foundation. I've laid the groundwork. I've built my baseline up. And how do I go on from here? So having a person in my life to tell me that all it took is doing was really what got me to start making music.
And what does that look like, making a beat?
It's like 45 seconds. You just lay some drums down.
First step is always laying drums down, or does it?
Back then it was,
okay,
for sure. I'm a huge. I would call myself a hip hop head. 95% of what I listen to is hip hop.
Who's the greatest MC of all time, in your opinion?
Ooh, I'm about to make some enemies. In terms of writing, although some people see him as super esoteric, I really like Aesop Rock. Just because he's really, in my opinion, he pushes kind of the boundary of what a lyric can be. Not to get like 12th grade high school English on you, but somebody who's working in metaphor and simile and is painting a larger picture. And, you know, each song is a vignette, and it's a short, static image of a place or a time or an event, and I love that. But if it came down to like, if you had me at gunpoint, I'd probably tell you Earl Sweatshirt's my favorite. I expect like 5 angry DMs. What the fuck? How could you forget this person? You don't like Nas? What about Biggie, bro? Jay-Z's the greatest. It's like, yeah, they're all fire. They're all super good.
It's an opinion, too.
Yeah, hell yeah. And you know what? I resonate very deeply with Earl's dark stuff. So it's the stuff that, like, oh, okay, yeah, that's it right there. Bars.
You had touched on...
Wait.
Oh, I didn't...
Going back to using the drum as the first...
Oh.
That's how we got out there. I just segued because he mentioned he's a hip hop head. So
I don't want to like leave anybody out though. Mahami is like the all-time greatest of today. Griselda Records. He's incredible, and I'm in love with West Side Gun. Just some fucking stupid slapping music. I felt like a need to like kind of dig some names up that weren't ones that you guys might know. Sorry.
I did not know that one. So
Cool kid in the studio now.
Yeah, I gotta check it out.
So using the drums as the basis, so I did a lot of like sample-based production. I found out that the majority of the music that I loved growing up was all sample-based. So it was more about like trying to figure out your rhythm, try to figure out your groove. You know, how do you want it to move? I don't rap much, so
You sure about that?
yeah, I don't rap much. So
You don't do any rap at all?
So for me, it was kind of harder. I know a lot of people that started like rapping or were lyricists or singers, and when they started producing, they found that they would find their pocket and they could just arrange everything to fit this empty space that vocals would eventually fill. I don't have that. So for me, it was like trying to figure out a drum rhythm that would bang, and then, you know, throwing a piano on that afterwards. Hit me with it.
Do certain beats or certain instrumentals have certain meanings to you? Obviously, you're not using words, right? But do they mean something? Do they get a point across to you as you're doing it?
Yeah, definitely. So I was really scared about writing like music, melodies, harmonies, counterpoint, because I'd never played an instrument ever. I played recorder in 4th grade because it was like required. But my mom would sign off on the homework. I wouldn't actually play it because I was really bad, and she didn't want to hear me like, you know what I mean? Like try and fuck up hot cross buns for 45 minutes. Which, I mean, if you love your child, I think you'll just sign the homework and not force them to do it. So thank you, Mom. But when I found that I couldn't, or I wasn't expressing myself in the way that I had originally hoped to achieve, I started like actually teaching myself theory and like trying to figure out how to make the notes move, how to get my point across. So yeah, 100%. I think a lot of my stuff's more moody. I certainly have gravitated towards the melodic elements more so than like having the drums be the focus of a track.
Talking about melodies and melodic movements and different types of beats, what is wave music?
Yeah, so wave music isn't a genre, it's a community. I was interviewed by The Playground. It's a group in the UK. When Noah and I dropped what is now the First Realm EP, close to this time last year, they asked a bunch of questions, and it's like, well, you know, define wave music. If you listen to wave music, it's kind of like slowed, emotional, ambient, melodic trap music. it pulls originally super